Hello everybody. So last night was Monday Night Raw's monthly pay-per-view titled Great Balls of Fire. It was held in Dallas, Texas. Just like our other videos with WWE, we'll be just going over the matches, giving you kind of my thought on things, what I think is going to be the future for whatever wrestlers were in that match. Well, we opened up the night with Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt. Now, it was a pretty good match. It was definitely not a show stealer by any means, but it was a very good opening match. You know, like there's some pay-per-views where like the opening match, like Cena versus Styles, it just completely steals the show, and the rest of it just seems kind of stale. Well, this one was. It was a nice match, but it wasn't anything that was so crazy, like so crazy good that it just ruined the show. Bray, of course, ended up winning via thumb to the eye. It's the win's great for him because there was a post on Steel Real to Us Damn It Facebook page that was showing the wins and losses of Bray Wyatt, and it was like astronomical how many losses this man had. And you know, a lot of people don't really remember. It's only been 4 months, or no, 5 months now since he's been WWE champion. This man walked into WrestleMania as the champion, and now he's been kind of lost in the mid-card shuffle, it seems. But since it wasn't a clean win, it really didn't hurt Seth's credibility by any means. I'm assuming this rivalry will kind of drag on into SummerSlam, although fans, I think, can agree with me that it's not really the greatest rivalry of all time, but it's something that's at least entertaining. Well, the second match was Big Cass versus Enzo Amore. This has been a storyline that I've really enjoyed because everyone's always been talking about what if Big Cass turned heel? What if Big Cass, kind of screwed over Enzo? Well, we finally got to see that happen. So, and like I expected, it was an absolute squash. Like, I'm pretty sure Enzo's like little inspiring message promo in the beginning was longer than the match itself. It's pretty much similar to when like a big guy on Raw just like smashes that local competitor, like what Ryback used to do, and pretty much what Braun Strowman did to James Ellsworth. That's pretty much to the extent of it. I think Big Cass really has a bright future in WWE. He has the look for it. He kind of fits Vince McMahon's mold. Not really that good on the mic. Is kind of cringe sometimes on it, but I think in time he'll get better. Hopefully he gets better, but as far as Enzo, really don't see him sticking with the company for very long. It already seems like he's kind of dwindling, and now he's just kind of playing squash to Cass, and then pretty soon they'll just cast him aside. Following that match was the very first ever 30-minute tag team Iron Man match for the Raw titles, and this match was actually really good. I was shocked. It was somewhat predictable for a while. Of course, one of the teams get a super fast fall within the first 30 seconds of it. And then it's like, boom, all of a sudden within 10 minutes it's 2-0. And you're thinking, okay, well, this is pretty predictable. This is what's happened numerous times before. And the fact that Sheamus and Cesaro was up 2-0 really doesn't surprise me that the match was probably going to go the distance, because A, it's the Hardy Boys, and they job to nobody. And it's the fact, well, it's the Hardy Boys. But I don't recall there ever being a squash in an Iron Man match, so as always, within the last third of the match, the underdog is rallying up, and of course it ends up getting fully tied within the closing minutes. There was an off-camera tag that people were really not sure about. They thought Sheamus was a legal man, but if you go and you listen to it, you hear the tag, although you don't see it. So when Cesaro gets the pin, a lot of people were kind of like, what just happened here? Well, I actually went back And I listened to it, and I was thinking, okay, if I can't see one, maybe you can hear a tag, and I definitely could. But Cesaro ends up picking up the fall on Jeff in the closing minutes, and it was, or I think it was in like 30 seconds, but it was absolutely hilarious because Cesaro just gets out of the ring and just runs around. Eventually, he runs in the ring, gets caught by a twist of fate, but of course, like I've seen before, 1, 2, before the hand can go down for 3, the bell rings, the buzzer goes off. So I feel the right team won. Bringing the Hardys back, it really got them their moment and brought back nostalgia. But I really feel like, Cesaro and Sheamus are the right fit for the titles right now. Whenever they showed Matt Hardy kind of breaking a little bit, I marked out pretty hard. Hopefully they get this deal done soon, because as much as I love Team Extreme, Matt Hardy, he's no Broken Hardy. But following that match was Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title. This has been a rivalry that has really not done anything for me. The match was back and forth, and that's what I liked. Alexa did the whole broken arm, the gimmick to get the advantage early. Eventually, Sasha ends up winning by countout. And it's sad because the brawl after the match was actually better than the match itself. As far as this rivalry goes, I see it getting dragged out, of course, to SummerSlam. As great as Alexa Bliss is, and as great as she is on the mic, okay, for the exception of that Bayley segment, but we won't even get into that. But more than likely, Sasha will probably win. Right, more than likely, she will win the title at SummerSlam. Following that was Miz versus Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. It was a horribly predictive match. Obviously, with Ambrose versus basically Miz, Maurice, and the Miz Taraj, it wasn't going to fare well for him. And of course, they were going to interfere, and they did. So there's really not much to talk about this match, except for the fact that I pray to God that this rivalry is over. It was good for the first, month or two, but after that, it's just, it's I don't know. I really just would, as much as I love Dean Ambrose, just please get somebody else in there. This rivalry is just, I don't know, it's driving me nuts. But following that was Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in an ambulance match. The beginning of the match was so funny because every time that Roman would hit Braun, just boos would just thunder around the arena, and then he runs in the ropes and Braun just plows him over, and the crowd just loses their mind. This was again another good match. It was Braun. He was in control for most of that early match. Then Roman gets the chair and starts beating the holy hell out of his elbow. But then it's funny because he hits Braun and he just soaks the chair shots. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I hated the end of the match though, because it's oh, here they are fighting by the ambulance, beating the crap out of each other, and then all of a sudden it's Roman goes for a spear, and Braun just steps out of the way, and Roman flies into the ambulance, and the door closes. That was the stupidest match ever. But afterwards, Roman comes out and spears Braun, and just absolutely loses his mind. Eventually throws Braun into the back of the ambulance and drives it to the back. And what happened next was just absolutely insane. Roman just drives in the back, and he stops kind of in the parking garage, and then out of nowhere just starts backing up really, really fast, and then crashes the ambulance into one of the trailers, and just it completely obliterates Roman. And then I think the more surprising thing was what happened afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
After all that happens, you hear Kurt Hawkins' music hit, and you see him like kind of like fidgeting with his gear coming down, and then next thing you know, Heath Slater comes out of all people. So technically, Kurt Hawkins versus Heath Slater was the co-main event of Great Balls of Fire. In a pay-per-view that had Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, it's Kurt Hawkins and Heath Slater. That they technically do have the co-main event position. So they kind of job around for a little bit. It's an absolute eyesore of a match. I have seen memes online where if they put on the greatest 5-star match, but anybody who wasn't there couldn't see it. But they cut to the back, and you see an ambulance coming in. Well, as the ambulance is coming in, all of a sudden you hear Lillian Garcia with, all you hear is ding, 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 and then here's the winner of your match, Heath Slater. So, congrats, Heath Slater. You got your very first pay-per-view co-main event win. So, but anyway, the ambulance crew comes out. They use a Jaw of Life to get, to try to get the door open. Of course, Braun eventually he gets out and tries to stumble to his feet. He eventually gets up and walks away. Really got to give to Corey Graves and Michael Cole for really just bringing the emotion after Braun walked away. Now, this is obviously the setup for Roman Reigns to be turned heel and Braun Strowman to be turned face. And it's honestly, that's already how it's felt for the later part of this rivalry. Everyone, of course, boos Roman, and everyone just goes nuts when they see Braun, especially whenever he's destroying Roman. So it's interesting to see where WWE goes with this. I really honestly thought that Roman was going to win the match because he, of course, declared himself number one contender for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. And, having him lose in a match like this, I figured, might have kind of derailed a little bit of momentum, but Braun winning, this kind of puts him into the picture. So these next couple weeks of Raw are going to be pretty intense. All right, but after all of that, everything that went on, we finally get to Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. Honestly, I didn't feel like the match was even going to happen because at 10:51 Eastern Time, they finally do their entrances, and at 10:57, the bell rings. So you know it's going to be a rather quick match. Of course, they're doing the between the 10:51 and 10:57. Joe attacks Brock and then puts him through a table. It was so crazy, but then eventually Brock gets into the ring and they start fighting. Joe had a pretty good advantage early on, but of course out of nowhere, Lesnar comes in and just starts hitting Germans left and right. Joe eventually hits a low blow, but the ref doesn't see and gets a near fall. I didn't really think that it was going to be obviously it was known that it wasn't going to win on a low blow. Well, that we know of. No, this is an Undertaker, but he eventually locks in the Coquina clutch. Eventually gets broken up. Brock starts doing more Germans. Then Joe hits the Coquina clutch again. And it looks like Brock's fading. Then, literally out of nowhere, Brock just stands up and F5s him and wins the match. Literally all of a sudden, Joe gets finished. Michael Cole's like, Joe got caught. He didn't get caught. He had Lesnar on both knees, almost completely limp, and then all of a sudden, Brock just jumps to his feet and hits an F5. I don't get it. I really don't like the outcome because, I like Brock Lesnar. But once again, he's a part-timer, and I think a major championship on a part-timer is ridiculous. If you were to tell me that for the last couple of months, the only full-time world champion in WWE would be Jinder Mahal, I would call you crazy. But I really I figured Joe should have won that match. Because WWE has done such a great job pushing him that just all of a sudden, boom, it just stops. And now it's going to be like Braun or Roman and Joe's going to kind of get shuffled in the mix and is not really going to have another chance, which I think is stupid because they've done such a good job building him up. So what do? They just break him down. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Raw tonight, and then coming in the coming weeks. Overall, the pay-per-view wasn't bad. There's a couple things I would like back, like Big Cass and Enzo being in the squash. I mean, it was cool to see Cass, although he has absolutely terrible music. Please don't stick with that. And Bliss and Banks wasn't really that great. Miz and Ambrose was okay, but definitely the highlights of this match was Roman and Braun, and of course the Iron Man match for the tag titles. And the main event wasn't too bad either. So hopefully, somebody was nice enough to tape the 5-star Kurt Hawkins and Heath Slater match. And I'm assuming due to their credibility, their match was probably way better than Kenny Omega versus Okada. So can't wait to hopefully see that surface on the internet at some time. But thank you guys for checking out this video. A little bit longer than what we normally do. So we will be back in 2 weeks to do the SmackDown pay-per-view Battleground, which is main evented by Jinder Mahal, putting the WWE Championship on the line against Randy Orton in a Punjabi prison match. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a favorite. It really does help out the channel. Also in the comment section below, feel free to give your prediction of the pay-per-view, what your favorite match was, or your favorite part of the pay-per-view. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.